Welcome to Horror Movies and Beyond, a show about reviewing horror movies for the living to understand the dead. I'm your host, Ivotres Littles, and this is Shudderary, where we go behind the screens of Shudder original and exclusive movies. Today, I have a really awesome special guest. He's a writer and a horror content creator, Mark O. Estes. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Ivotres. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to talk to you. I see you around social media, and finally, I get to speak to you. So,
Yeah, it's an honor. It's such an honor.
Yeah, it really is. So, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Just moseying through life, trying to get my second season started for my podcast. But I'm gonna do 3 specials, and I'll give out information out on social media later. But just pretty much doing it and just working. So, how about you?
I'm hanging in there, man. The way things are, you just gotta hang in there. Hopefully,
Yeah.
who knows how this year is gonna go, but I think we're better than when the pandemic started, but we still have a long way to go.
A long way. A long way.
A long, too long. We can't see it.
Exactly.
Um, anyway, so I asked you to be on Shudderary so we could talk about VHS 94.
Yes.
But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have a podcast named Midnight Social Distortion, and it's still a baby. It'll be a year old in May, but I am a small town country boy who grew up on horror. I used to be scared of it. I used to run away from it, but then by the time my preteens kicked in, I became enthralled with it, and it got to the point to I became like an outsider, and so I even in my small town community. So I even gravitated more towards it, and I realized that no, I always found solace in horror, and always got me through troubling times. So I said, why not just take that love of horror and just dig deep into it? I started writing about it, I started studying it, and here I am. I decided to focus through a black queer lens rather, because that's a voice that's rarely talked about in horror. We all of us black people just got our foot in the door. We hit our foot in the door, but we just like we pushed it open. And I'm sitting there waving my rainbow flag, like, yeah, I'm here too. So that's me. I'm all about the black queer horror and black horror in general, and just horror in general, and just trying to give a unique perspective on it, just like you do.
Yeah, so you picked VHS 94. Just to let people know, I do not pick. So all the podcasters, YouTubers, horror content creators choose their movie from Shudder. I don't choose, they do. So he chose VHS 94. And just recently, I interviewed one of the producers, Josh Goldblum, who worked on this, and we talked about the ins and outs. But I think this time we're gonna get really into it, as far as like our vision of what we think. So before we get in there will be spoilers. Oh, okay. So there will be spoilers. If you guys do not want to hear the spoilers and you have not seen VHS 94, such a shame, please head over to Shudder, check it out right now. Before you do that, like and subscribe, but then come back, make sure you come back. So
yeah.
Why did you pick VHS 94?
I'm having a thing with anthologies, and VHS. The VHS series was just something that I discovered by accident a few years ago. I think the second one had just come out, and I discovered them, and I was like, I'm a big fan of them. Was not a big fan of Viral. So when they announced VHS 94, I was like, I cannot wait to see what they got because I'm a big '90s head. I was a '90s kid, so that was like my thing. And it touched a lot of great things when I saw it, but I was excited because I was like, finally we getting a new VHS, and I knew that Brad Miska was on it from Bloody Disgusting, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna get some good stuff there. Jennifer Reeder, who I love, directed, the wraparound story, and yeah,
Mhm.
it was just amazing.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of good reasons to, um, you know, get excited for this. So it is an original, and it came
Mhm.
out last year. It's a horror anthology. So it is about, which I have my notes here, because look, all these films by now are all running together. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure. So it's a series. It's presented as a series of VHS cassettes found by a SWAT team members as they advance through an abandoned warehouse containing remnants of a ritualistic cult.
Yeah.
And throughout that, we start seeing stories, unveil before our eyes. Um, so there are a couple of stories here. There's Holy Hell, Storm Drain, um, the empty wake, the subject, the terror. Also, there's the veggie smasher, that a
I
commercial veggie smasher. So and it really bring back the 90s, man.
yes, yes, it did.
Those infomercials, they were
Yes,
scary, some of them.
yeah, they were. And late at night, they would come on late at night, and that was some of the things I would watch late at night. It would be between a horror movie, an infomercial, and MTV, and they all kind of blended together, especially when you were just like tired. So it fit all within the realm of the '90s, like you said. For me,
We meet a woman sitting in front of some TVs, and we see like this ritual place, or people gouged their eyes gouged out. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know. And she's like sniffing and throwing up in front of TVs. It was just like completely weird.
right, right.
Very, very weird. And then, the SWAT team bust in there. And by the time they get there, everybody is just like all messed up, dead, more
Eyes
eyes are
gouged out.
gouged.
Hmm.
And as they progress, each room, each room um, gives us an idea of the next story that's
Hmm.
going to happen. So, what did you think about the way they opened this up as this SWAT team and this cult and warehouse? Like, what do you think about that part?
It kind of set. I'm like you said, it set the mood for what we was gonna get. I didn't know that Jennifer Reeder was doing that particular portion until I went and did my research, and I was like, I noticed that the guys were just kind of very, just like going in and just like, we gonna do this, we gonna do that, and and the girls were sitting back like, okay, we have our orders, let's calm down, let me run this, and this like just, I don't say toxic. It was kind of toxic masculinity just flying all over the place. And
Yeah.
then the girls were just sitting there looking at each other like, okay, this is gonna be a total shit show. So we just gonna have to get ready for it. And I don't know. I was just like, why are y'all filming this? But this is before, the entire the world was recording everything. And I think that the reason why they was recording, especially in '94, was around the time like the I just listened to a podcast about that guy. But the LA riots, what I'm trying to get around.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it was like they had to like have somebody there to record to make sure they don't do anything. And I noticed that one of the guys said, if something goes left, cut the tape. And I'm like, so y'all already here with some fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? So we can't curse on here, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay, yeah,
fine.
we I'm like, y'all already here with the fuck shit, which means that y'all are here just to sit there and put bullet holes in people, and whatever happens, and y'all just be like, oh, we were doing our job. So yeah, I'm like, I don't. So if anything happens to them by the end of the movie, I was like, I don't care, because y'all asked for it.
Yeah. I mean, it just seemed. They also seem unorganized as
Right.
well. Like they were just running in, and And you're right. Around that time, it was a little. Well, we could say it was a little after the riots.
Right.
It would take place, and a couple of years after it.
Right.
Um, yeah. So it just protect ourselves, but cut off the camera.
Exactly.
Just in
Exactly.
case it goes crazy, because we don't want to get that part in there. So yeah. Then it moves on to another story, and Storm Drain.
Mm.
So, so we have Storm Drain. Um, yeah. Okay. First of all, I really do. I like how they introduced each segment.
Right.
It's like the SWAT team goes to one section, we get to see, but it doesn't tell you exactly what it is, because there were people sniffing or whatever gook or whatever she was doing. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And Storm Drain. So, how far would you go to get the perfect story? Because she went into a storm drain to hear about Ratma, and when in the distance a guy with a rifle is staring at her, and see,
That was
I
it.
couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Me
I
neither.
don't know. What do you think? Could
Me,
you do
I
it?
no, I'm right there with you, because at first it's funny how the paradigm shifted between the two of them, because at first she was like complaining because it sounded like the news station was like, can you go get like better footage, like we need something like
Mm-hmm.
very concrete, and she was upset about it. And then the guy was like, well, let's go over here, the cameraman was like, let's go over here, let's do this. And she was like, look, it's nasty. And I was looking at her, I don't know, I forgot what shoes she had on, but they were not the type of shoes you would wear in the opening of a sewer drain. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and the water was coming out of there, and then the guy was like you said, with the gun standing there looking all crazy and stuff. And I'd have been like, nope, I will just chalk this story up as an urban legend. I mean, there's other stuff in the world we could be discussing, and I just left it at that, because because that's the thing I love about the movie, those type of movies, is that you have to pay attention to the entire frame, because you
Mm-hmm.
probably paying attention to the main character, and she is doing it. So the guy was like, what was that? And I was like, yeah, I saw something behind there. And I was like, I don't know, I thought it was just a glare or something, just me being anticipated something to happen. But I'm glad that they pointed out, like, what was that? I'm like, okay, I know I saw something. And that would have been like, okay, you know what? Let's just sit here and cut this out, and we'll go here and film, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
discuss about what we saw in the drain and just come up with something, you know? But
Mm-hmm.
no, not that, not that. Mm-mm.
No, they went all the way in there,
Went too deep.
and yeah, yes, they did. They went all the way in there, meet some man that is shirtless and looked like he probably smelled like all to be damned,
Oof.
and they got attacked, woke up, tied up or whatever, in even deeper into the storm drain. And people are chanting and doing all kinds of weird things. And at this opening, with some interesting writing around it. And what came crawling out of there? I've
Child.
never in all my life seen anything come close to that. What did you think of that creature?
I couldn't go to sleep after that. I could not go to sleep after that. I messed up a try. I watched this like in the middle of the night, and I was like, "What in the hell is that?" And the creature design was so great, because if you look the at the tail end of the face, you saw a face, but
Yeah, yeah.
when he kind of looked down, he looked like a rat, but it's like a
Mm-hmm.
long snouted rat. And then when he came up, I'm like, that was ugh. And you were just trying to figure out what created that and where did it come from. It's just all that's going through your head at the same time, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just try to figure out why are they worshiping it. It's like, what's going on? I, mind blown.
I don't know. It had nipples and it was this
Yes.
black stuff. And I was getting the impression, that it chooses its victims or it chooses the people to worship them or something like that. So when they took the black gook and put it on one guy, the cameraman, he just completely burnt the hell up. And then
Right.
when it went on her, it didn't. So
Mm-hmm.
I guess whatever's in that stuff it chooses, or more faithful type of person, who knows. And
Yeah.
that was gross. Then
Oh
she
yeah.
comes crawling out of there, and in between that we got was it Veggie Smasher commercial that's
Right.
going on, that happened earlier. It was just weird. She come out of there and then she goes back to work, and then she threw up on her anchor partner, and Timon Hell Ratma. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a very short segment,
Mm-hmm.
but it got to the point, and that creature was very, very creative. Yes, it
Right.
was.
It was a great creepy ending, and that's what I loved about it. That's one of my favorite segments
Mm.
of the main movie. So
Yeah, I like that one too. Next up, we have The Empty Wake. So this one's about a young lady who was hired or whatever, or chosen to stay the night because it was a late wake in for the
right.
family of this guy that no one really knew about, and she had to stay there. At the same time, there was some kind of storm that was on its way, so she had to stay there, and everything seems okay, until some weird crap started happening. And I could tell you right now, it's not enough money in this world to keep me staying there by myself at a wake with a casket that moved all of a sudden before everyone left. Nope.
Right.
Out. Out.
Right. 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 I don't know. I've never heard of such a thing. And who's first of all, who sits there and I didn't know how long she was supposed to have been there. Like a wake usually lasts an hour. At at top, they're like, well, the family wants to record the entire wake. No, of the wake only lasts an hour. So it should have been on the owner's, like, you know, his responsibility. Like, okay, so I'm supposed to have my place of business open 24 hours during a storm because you want to record the entire wake. And when she called the first time, it's like there's nobody here. You would think that in his mind, okay, we'll close up shop. If somebody shows up, go away. But no, not all night, not during a storm. It's like I, I don't know. I don't know. I was already over it when they left, and the dude was like, "Yeah, don't call me. I'm going to sleep. Don't call me unless it's serious." And I'm like, your job as a manager is to be on call at all times.
Mhm.
Fuck your sleep. If something goes down, I'm calling you. You know what I'm saying? You got to bring your ass here. That's how I look at it.
Well, unfortunately for her, uh, some weirder stuff started happening at that casket. I mean, knocks. She would go check. It moved, and then a visitor comes, sits in the front, chats a bit, leaves, and then it get really crazy. And she decide to run off because the lights went off and weird stuff. And then she couldn't get out because whoever left locked the door up, with a chain. And
Mm-hmm.
she comes back, and the casket is open and on the floor, and on the wall was a half head. Whoever was in there. Now you don't know that until it turns around, and I,
Child.
I thought, I, to, I don't know. I
I,
think I would have died right there. I would have turned into a corpse too, because the fear, I would have broke out the glass. I'm sorry. I would have
yeah,
dealt with the hurricane, tornadoes, instead of whatever that thing was. That was crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was look, watching the entire segment. I was like this. I shouldn't be like that as much crap as I watch, but I was like, I don't know what to expect, and the lights are out, and I know there's a setup for a jump scare, but I was just like, oh God, it's too late, and I gotta go to sleep in a few minutes. And I'm like, oh God, what's gonna jump? So he turned around. I'm like, oh shit, oh God. It like, and then when she was running around trying to hide, she realized he couldn't see her. And then she was
Mhm.
like, okay, trying to do all this stuff. And then you saw the second half of the head on the ground. And I was like, it's gonna look at her. It's gonna look at her. It's gonna run to her. I just knew it. I just felt it in my bones. But yeah, I would burst out of there. Because yeah, there's no way in hell they'd have caught me slipping up in that bad boy. Mm-mm. No.
No, no. I would have slipped on out the door and gone. Yeah, but unfortunately, her demise has and we didn't see exactly what happened to her. All we
Right.
know is it attacked her, and then we see her kind of becoming a zombie,
Right.
sort, and go out after the big storm hit the place and tore it up. So, man, that
Right.
was just a way to go. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and but in between that, we also have the holy hell going on. So we still have the SWAT team going to each room trying to figure out, what's really going on. So it's just it's a couple
Chaotic.
stories. Yeah,
Right.
it's chaotic all around. Next up, we have the subject, and
Yeah.
that one I have to say is the longest out of all
Hmm.
of them. I thought they could have made it shorter.
Okay.
It was, to me, it was too long. And following, okay, so first it opens, you're following a doctor, but before we
Hmm.
even see the doctor, we see a head of a person. They wake up and they have spider legs,
Ooh.
and he burns up. He gets shocked and burnt up, and then we continue on with the doctor, and he's doing experiments.
Hmm.
And we're seeing, then later we see a perspective of one of the people that he did an experiment on, and she's like a part mechanical thing. So this turns into like the Terminator
Hmm.
right before our eyes. But I thought it was just way too long because we were
Okay.
following her throughout. But and then we meet the bigger one, and it starts slashing, and to me it turned into was it Tokyo Gore Police meets
Yes.
Silent, yeah, meets Silent Hill. It all went together.
Yes.
um I just thought they could have took this turn, like, I don't know, short. What do you think? Like, shorten the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, it was kind of long because, like you said, the narrative or the point of view kept switching off so much to the point where you was like, okay, who are we following? Who? I mean, we know the doctor is evil, but we didn't know. I mean, as soon as she opened up her eyes, I was like, what the hell has he done to her? And I wanted to see what happened to her. It's kind of like when you the old Twilight Zone episode when the girl wakes up and she's trying to see her face and
Mm-hmm.
see, so it's like the suspense is killing. Like, what happened to her? How she has a battery life now. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? And then we noticed that when she tried to escape or she tried to fight back with the doctor, he kept hitting her. Her battery life went down. So I'm like, okay, so she's attacked. It's kind of like in a video game, like your what they call it, your life bar goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So when the SWAT team came, well, that's SWAT team because I don't want to confuse anybody, but when the cops came in this
Yeah, yeah,
particular
yeah.
segment, it kind of drained on a little bit longer. You know what I'm saying? And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, now you got to go through all these cops, and you got this one cop who's like reminiscent of the what's going on in the Holy Hell segment, who's just gung ho, record everything, but if some shit go left, cut the tape, and it was just like, okay, is she, because it started to ask the question whether or not was she still human, was she still worth saving, even though they came for survivors, but
Mm-hmm.
she's clearly alive, but dude was like, she's no longer human, we can't save her. And the one guy's like, but we kind of can, you know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
it kind of drained. But then I think it was to wake up the other subject who, like you said, is like Pyramid Head with the double blades and all that, and
Yeah.
he was just sitting there just slicing up people. And then when she got out of there, and because you went from that her point of view to the cop's point of view back to her point of view, and you just like, okay, who am I following now? Only thing we realized was like, you saw the battery life, you're like, okay, we're following her now. And then we realized like the rest of the story was her story. So I thought it ended kind of sad, but
Yeah.
sad
Yeah, she
ending.
just walked out. Like
Right,
that's just what she is, and she got to deal with, how the people going to see her when she goes out of there. I mean,
right,
but yeah, but overall, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was pretty brutal. I
right.
just wish the story was a little shortened,
Hmm.
because I think her walking through looking at other victims, um, I mean, that's significant, but I wish we would have see her more
Right,
and the suffering of her, because we're seeing the suffering of others, when
right.
they went through whatever they did, and even she even end one life.
Hmm.
But I just thought, I mean, we don't need to see them because we already know we saw that in the beginning.
Right,
So, but I don't
right.
know.
It probably was one of those like, it would probably work as its own film, maybe its
Yeah.
own short film. I think that's probably what they're probably trying to figure out, if we could spin one of these stories off into a bigger film or something like that. But yeah, it was kind of long. It was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was still good, but
it was still good, but like you
still
said,
up.
kind of long.
Next up, we have the terror. So we have some extremist group or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they're Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to create havoc. And they found a way to do that when they realized somebody had some exploding blood. They realized if you put the blood in the sunlight, it explodes. So this one
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like a vampire segment. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, when I opened it, when it opened up and I saw all the grunge look, I'm like, oh, this is so early '90s. This is so Waco, Texas, crazy extremists, what this Oklahoma City bombing type situation and stuff. And I was like, they are really showing that, how domestic terrorism is nothing new, and it's
Hmm.
just like these people have been sitting here doing this crap for like decades. And I'll be honest with you, it took me a long time to realize, or to come to no to realize what exactly they were planning to do. The
Hmm.
main guy was kind of, he looked like a cross between Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon, and I was sitting there looking for a long time. Like, is that really? That looks like actual Steve Bannon. They actually get Steve Bannon to do this damn role, because he looked exactly like that guy. And when I noticed they was doing working with the blood, I'm like, okay, so I didn't see them taking blood out the guy, so that's what threw me off. I know he kept I'm like, okay, so they seems like they have the same outfit on every time they go in there and they shoot the dude. So it took me a couple of times to realize that they're just real dirty and they're just going there killing the same guy over and over again. And that's not just a video they're playing over and over again. And I thought the big um weapon they had was that big ass Gatling gun they had. I didn't know that the weapon was the actual guy. So but as it went forward, I think it didn't click in with me until they had the whole bunny rabbit thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when it clicked with me. Like, okay, so they're dealing with some type of chemical. I thought it was a chemical. They said it was blood. I'm like, oh, because I was already taken out from the whole extremist thing. I was like, at least they ain't saying nothing like real crazy. And I just wanted to say that this shows that you can do a movie with those type of characters and don't have to just go to 10 with it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because I was already not liking them. I'm like, okay, all y'all get killed by whatever y'all doing. That's fine with me. I just want to see how it's going to go down. You don't have to
Hmm.
say, racial epithets or do anything that's very offensive. You can still show that these people are deplorable. Just, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Just by showing like it's like the whole thing show don't tell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
You can see it. You can see it going on. You get like, okay, they're racist or like
Hmm.
bigots and stuff, and they're talking, especially when they're talking about we have to do the Lord's work, and I'm like, he wants y'all to have um artillery that is not supposed to be in y'all's hands, and y'all supposed to do all this. I'm like, girl, come on, man, finish them off.
I have to say, it's very clever that they, um, use the blood as a
Right,
weapon. Like that part was pretty clever. I didn't think of that. Like, oh, okay. But at the same time, you knew they were still unorganized. They were still
right,
having a power trip amongst each other. So you knew something bad was going to happen. You just didn't know how. And it
right.
started with the exploding uh, bunny because their negligence, get out of there. They were screaming, and half of people don't listen. And then they get drunk and decide, oh, we're going to go in there and see what we can do and mess with that thing. And you're not sure what that thing is. It's a type of man looking thing, but why does they keep blowing the head away? Until finally, because of their negligence, we get to see what kind of thing that is. And I've seen all of Blades. I've seen vampires, Interview with the Vampires. I've seen Dracula's. What else have I seen?
The strain.
The Strain, and those were some freaky vampires too.
Hmm.
Man, Blade 2 vampire with the
Yes.
tongues, and I've seen all kind of vampires, but I have never seen a
No.
vampire look like that.
No.
Not
No.
only did it have a large mouth, but it seemed like the mouth came from the chest too. I mean, it was
Right.
just
And he
I
didn't go
mean,
for your throat. Yeah, he didn't go for your throat. He just ripped your whole goddamn face off. Like, yo, I'm just.
and then you see that because he got on the guy, he was like,
I I mean, it scared the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, yo, what type of? How the hell did y'all capture this? And where did y'all find it? It's just, it's
that's what
another one of
I'm
those
saying.
things.
I
Yeah.
don't think they ever saw what it really looked like. I think they captured it, or it could have been one of their partners that got bit, and they didn't ever really see what it bit him. But then they know when he got in the sun, maybe he started frying, and I don't know, who knows. But
Yeah.
man, that was brutal.
Right.
There was a lot of brutality in there, but you didn't care about any of them.
No, not one.
We just want to know how it was going down. And we move on to the conclusion of Holy Hell, which one of the guys was part of that militia that happened to escape, and he was part of the SWAT team. And two of the girls knew that. So it
Yes.
was kind of a trap, maybe?
Right. Yeah. I was like, because I didn't see it coming. Because
No.
it took me until that moment when they said you stole artillery. I said that was him, and I was like, I went back, I
Mm.
rewound it back. I'm like, oh, he just looked kind of different, but that is him. I was like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god, and I knew something was up because it dawned on me that a seed was planted because you saw in the back of his coat when he was with the militia group, it said police or cop or something like that. I'm like, of course, of course. Oh, so
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of all fit to me. So I was like, yeah, whatever y'all about to do to him, get it done. Get her done.
And that's when we find out that the two girls decided that they were creating they were part of the whole cult, and they were making their own type of movies for people who are into that kind of violence, snuff films, and everything, because people crave that kind of stuff. I mean, we'll see something and we want to look away, but we want to see what happens. I mean, even like if you're driving on the freeway, it happens all the time. There's an accident, everyone slows down and damn near create another accident trying to see if there's some guts hanging or a head gone or something. I mean, it's true. Like
Yeah.
because it's just we're curious creatures. I think a lot of people are just into that in them kind of films, blood and guts. I mean, it's where it's at, I guess. And they were
Yeah.
creating an empire of an underground that were into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if it was a prequel. Like they were the reason why some of the stuff we got in like the first three movies, like
Mm-hmm.
that's like it started from there. Um I wonder if it's a prequel, but I like the way that they sat there and it was like, yeah, we figured out that you were the one who did all this. And so I'm like, so there's vampires running around in y'all's reality and y'all are making snuff films. And but I'm like, hell, you found all these films, so it's not just vampires running around your reality. You got Ratman running around there, you have like cyborg type robots running around, and you also have like maybe a zombie apocalypse about to start off, somewhere. So it's like y'all have a lot of shit going on, but you guys want to make
Mm-hmm.
snuff films. So I was like, okay, but I was okay with it because again, everybody on this SWAT team besides those two were very unlikable and they were deplorable and they were like asking for everything they got.
Overall, I think this one was a lot better than Viral. um
Yes.
Viral, that's a different level of what they were
Yes.
trying to do. I see the whole thing of when movies were um they during that time a lot of films were like, if it's viral, if it's something that is contagious out. Even The Grudge was doing that, because
Mhm.
the first Grudge was contained and then you had the second and third and then it spread.
Right.
And I think that one, I think this one kind of played off of that. I mean,
Right.
Viral. I'm sorry, Viral was playing off of that because that came out around that time when
Right.
those films were coming out. So, but this one was definitely a lot better than Viral. I love the first one. The second one was
Yes.
great. The second one was my favorite. It had
Me
some.
too.
It. I think the second one. I think out of all of them, there were two. The first one was Siren,
Right.
or it's probably called something else. And the second in VHS 2 was that cult with
Yes.
that goat thing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
That was terrifying. Just
Yes, God.
terrifying. That thing is chasing you and people are blowing themselves away.
Right.
Oh my god. And you think he got away and you hear it galloping and you're like, oh shit, no, no, no. And
Yeah.
then you see him like crawling out the car, and then you see that goat thing talking about daddy or papa. Oh my gosh. I was
Yes.
screaming. I was like, oh my god.
Yes.
That one was
Yes.
scary. There
Those.
were other scary ones, I mean, throughout, but those are my favorite ones. But
Me
overall,
too.
what do you think about this?
I loved
Just
it.
just
I loved it. I really did. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I was talking to you earlier and I said I felt like there was a theme forming a little bit for me. I
mhm,
realized that all in the one except for the terror, the
mhm,
women came out, even though they were transformed. It's like they came out, they still like was still standing, but just on the other side of the realm of living somewhat. Like you
mhm,
have the girl from Radma, then you have the girl from the Empty Wake, and then you had the subject. They all were still standing, but they were like battle damaged or just traumatized or transformed, but they were still standing. And you realize that everybody in the terror was obliterated. There was nobody. There was not one survivor. And also, the wraparound was like, these are women, who are doing this, and it's, people probably get like, oh, we would expect the girls, but it's just like, y'all tend to underestimate women. See, like all the women in these segments were disrespected, and then you had
Mm-hmm.
this whole big militia of men at the last segment going to try to like take back America and all this stuff, and were bumbling. And you have them; they had like something that could have easily been a weapon that could have been easily handled, but they
Mm-hmm.
just went to the extreme with it. And then you had these two women at the end who single-handedly took out an entire SWAT team and put together this whole big narrative
Mm-hmm.
and still came out on top. And it's just like
Yeah.
that's what I saw about it. That's what made me like it a whole lot more. It wasn't no creepy old dude just sitting there just collecting tapes, just be collecting tapes and just doing weird stuff.
But yeah, so this film has its moments. I do wish some segments were a little shorter and some expanded, but other than
Right,
that, I think it did its justice for what it was here to bring us.
right.
So if you guys want to check this out, or hey, you got enough here, but either way, it is streaming right now on Shudder. So go on over there, check it out, whatnot. And also before that, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment at the end of this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mark. This was awesome. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Midnight Social Distortion. And if you want to follow my personal account, it's Marco Estes. And I tell people to just send me a message more than hi. Just say you're a horror fan and that you just want to join my personal side of the realm, and that's fine. On Twitter, you can find me at the Anti-Critic, and I'm about to relaunch my blog. I will probably, I think I sent you that link because I can't think of the back of my top of my head. But also my podcast, Midnight Social Distortion, season 2 is coming up really, really soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark. And you guys go follow Mark. He is awesome. And
Thank
just want to
you.
let you know more Shudderary videos are on its way. Until next time, bye, guys.
Peace.